Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Don't know where to begin here. How much are we spending annually in Afghanistan now? How much is the cost to the American taxpayer? Anybody know?
I mean, I think each of us have somewhat different budgets there. The total budget,
Yeah, what would be? Nobody knows the total budget of what we're spending in Afghanistan. It's a hearing on Afghanistan. Can I have an estimate?
I'm sorry, Congressman.
I'll just have to say that it's disheartening to have a briefing from our government people who are involved in a project, and they can't tell me how much we're spending annually. And
it is an amount.
How many killed and wounded have we suffered in the last 12 months? Mr. Dumont, would you know that?
Sir, I do not. I'll have to get back with you on that one also.
We don't know what the cost is, and we don't even know how many killed and wounded are. And we're supposed to believe that you fellows have a plan that's going to end up in a positive way in Afghanistan? Holy cow.
We do know that the number of Afghan soldiers and police killed is 30 times the number.
You know what? I'll have to tell you something. I'm more interested in knowing how many Americans have been killed, because the Afghans have been killing themselves for centuries. And, you know, my father fought in Korea, and I remember when he told me, he said, Dana, all of these young men who were with me out fighting in Korea, they would never have believed that we'd be there after 50 years. They never, not one of those guys who went to Korea to try to stop the communist takeover would have believed that that meant that we would have been committed for 50 years. Okay, we don't know how many are killed and wounded. We don't know what the cost is. So what will be the cost? You're presenting a plan now. We want us to accept. What will be the cost to the United States per year annually after your plan is applied to Afghanistan, if they accept it?
Well, we haven't defined force levels there. I think the rough figure is probably about $1 million per soldier, so you can work out when you...
And how many soldiers are we asking them, pleading with them to let us send our boys into harm's way? How many soldiers is the plan to continue with our presence?
The President hasn't made that decision yet.
Is there a proposal to Karzai on that?
No, and Karzai...
I heard the number 14,000. Is that out of the ballpark?
If you were talking about a U.S., NATO, everybody together figure, that would still probably be somewhat high. Mm-hmm. Karzai, in fact, has expressed no interest in the size of the residual presence.
Okay. You know, yesterday the Secretary of State was here, and he was telling me different things of why what we can't do to make the mullahs mad. Of course, he wasn't putting it that way, and I suggested that there was groveling going on. I think we are groveling again. Maybe this is the grovel administration. We are groveling to Karzai. I know Karzai. I've known him for 20 years. And we all, and to suggest his family, we all know what his family's done. They've become filthy rich. And we're dealing with a group there now centered around the Karzai clique. I mean, drug dealing, skimming of U.S. aid, cronyism at its worst, and we're dealing with Pakistan in order to make sure we have a presence there, and meaning in Afghanistan, and the Pakistanis are doing what? We know the Pakistanis are behind the ISI, who they're financing. We know that they spend money that we end up getting from us to kill American soldiers. This is insanity. And then we have people who want to stay longer. It's time for us to get our butts out of that country. Not for their sake, for our sake. We don't even care enough to know how much it's costing or how many killed and wounded that we suffered. That should be right on the tip of your tongue, because that's a cost to everybody's kid. I mean, everybody has got a son there, or has to know that our number one priority is that person who we sent over there. We care about him enough. But we have some other agenda in Afghanistan, I don't see what we're going to accomplish. And you're asking what the goals are. If you believe that that's accomplishable in Afghanistan, I got a bridge to sell you in California. Thank you.
Mr. Jerry Connolly of Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, let me just say, I do think, I say to the panel, Mr. Rohrabaugh is right. How you can come to a congressional oversight hearing on this subject with your titles and not know how much we're spending every year and not know how many casualties we incur every year or this last year, I will say to the chairman of this committee, is actually a stunning development. I've been involved in foreign policy hearings and oversight for a long time. Like, that wouldn't be a question on the tip of one's tongue, but put that aside. Mr. Sampler, what's going to happen to the oversight